Okay, we're going to go over some of the homework problems. Not all of them, but a select amount. And the way we're going to do this is based on some of the responses I got of requests. I will give out the answers so you can check your work. On number 1, the answer is C. And the way to check your work is go back to the text and see if you understand if you got it wrong, what you did wrong. The answer to number 2 is B. Number 3 is also B. That's the only thing that doesn't get systematically used at all to reduce an investment account because we don't amortize it. There's no amortization. Number 4 is A, and we learned that in the recent video, or actually in the last class, that we do not reduce to 0. So that's why that is true. It will not be reduced any further. Then we come to number 5. All right, let's go through this one a little bit more. Pinkerton owns 10%. Sable had net earnings of 40 in dividends. And the accountant made an error. So what this problem is asking is the accountant made an error. What is true about the accounts? And the way to answer the question is first do what the accountant did. And that would be what entries did he make under the equity method? And the answer is, let's take a look. So first what he would have done is he would have debited the investment account for the amount of earnings at 10% anyway. So that would have been a debit, increasing the investment account, and then he would have credited equity income. Neither one of these entries, debit or credit-wise, should have been made. And since they were, that's going to help us determine what's true in this problem. That's a debit. So it means there's too much debit, too many debits here, and too many credits here. So that means by using the equity method that he did, even though he wasn't supposed to, he overstated the investment account. That's true, but he didn't understate earnings. He overstated earnings. So that's not true. And now I think you got the idea, and the answer turns out to be D, that he overstated the investment account and overstated the net earnings. Both of those are true. All right, so that's number 5. That tells us to go to the next page, number 6. Number 6, Griffin has this 30% ownership in Duck. Griffin should use the equity method under which of the following circumstances? And so it's asking you to use your judgment as to what kind of factors tell us if there's significant influence. If he didn't have a position on the board, that's not good. If he gave up stock rights through an agreement, that's not good. Inadequate or untimely information shows that he certainly doesn't have influence to get any records, so it leaves A as the only answer, but it also makes sense. Diversification of the other owners would lead the 30% to be more valuable and have more influence on the company. Number 7, Pond Corporation uses the fair value method of accounting. Which one of the following events would affect the investment? So this is merely asking for if the fair value is used, what does that mean in terms of the investment account? And fair value, again, just go back and what do? We increase or decrease the investment account based on fair market value changes. So reading the answers, an increase in investee share price certainly would affect the investment account, so that looks right. Losses losses that they lose have no effect. It's only the fair market values. That's no good. Dividend payments are recognized as income. They don't in the fair value. It doesn't hit the investment account. It's only an equity method when it does, and all of the above. So that's not true, and A is the answer. Now we come to number 8. That's always a fun. This is a fun one. All right. So here's number 8. What you have to do is you have to bring the equity method account up to date through the date of the sale of the stock, August 1st. The sale price was that, and it's for half, so that would be what you have to look at the investment account at that point to see what you have. So to do this, we want to create the T account of the investment account. That's what we want to do. And here we'll start it off, the T account. Good news is it gives you the opening 1116 balance because that's the same as 1231. So we can start right there. And now we know when we have partial sales, we just have to bring the equity method up to the date of the sale, which in this case is August 1st. And what do we have to do? We have to do the traditional equity method adjustments. That's what we have to do. The first one is the amount of income earned by Fish Corporation, which they tell us was $4,000 per month. So $4,000 per month at 7 months. It's only 7 months. I just did the math wrong. Is $28K for 7 months, applied at 20%. And let me check my math on that, but I believe it's $5,600 times 20%, 56. So our equity method would have that number, the 5,600, as a debit to the investment account. So let's add that to the T account, 5,600. Next is the amortization of the goodwill. But before we do that, we can more easily do the dividends, which are told to us that the dividends paid, let's make a little bit of room there, there we go, there's the dividends, paid in May was $20,000. So of that, 20% of that amount would be coming out of the investment account, because that's what we do. Let's make sure it's the $20,000 of dividends paid to everybody. So 20% of that is $4,000. Yeah, $4,000. Okay, so the dividends is 20,000. Let's do that again. Dividends are 20,000. 20% of that is 4,000. The investment account would have been reduced under the equity method for the dividends. So let's make the adjustment there. And then that last piece is then the amortization on the goodwill. The amortization on the goodwill is total for the year 6,000 times, let's see, 6,000 divided by 12 months times 7 gives us 3,500 times 20%, because it's all this is 20% of that amount. That's $700. I'm sorry, that's not right. It's 6,000 on the whole thing. So it's 20% of the 6,000 over 7 months, which is 3,500. It's not 20%. It was included in the purchase transaction. It was included in the purchase transaction at a $6,000 amortization. So it's just 20% of. There's no 20% adjustment for that. It's automatically been taken into account as the adjustment just for the income of that company. So it's over 12 months times 7 to get the number of months, and that is, in other words, the 6,000 represents, as the problem tells you, for the purchase price. That's the amount that applies to the purchase price. So it's 6,000 for the whole kit and caboodle here, as they say in Baltimore anyway. And so 6,000 divided by 12 times 7 to get the number of months is 3,500. So that'd be another credit to the investment account of 3,500, adjusting for the amortization. Now we can take our T account. It's not written real nice in that particular part of it, but that's part of the problem with these problems, is you got to realize that it's of the excess purchase transaction, not as a whole. Just for the transaction, $60,000 was allocated to the $300,000 as being for the patent, so $6,000 is an adjustment in total, but only for the number of months, 3,500. So now the T account's going to be debit. T account's going to be 440 plus 5,600 minus 3,500 minus 4,000 or 438 100, and I'll rewrite that in a second. 438 100. That means that the gain is based on 1/2 of that, because it's half the stock was sold. So half of that gives us a basis of 219.50 minus 500,000 and minus 500 or $500,000 from that, because that's the amount of sale price for that amount of stock. So that leaves us to 289.50. Answer B is the amount of gain recognized on the transaction. Okay. I think I'll take a break and come back and solve the last two problems.